What's up, glue dots? You know, as a kid, there was always this one decor piece in my aunt's house that mesmerized me, and I just loved it. And I went to Dollar Tree and picked up these pieces to try and see if I can somewhat duplicate. You'll see it's not the same thing, but you will definitely see the inspiration there. And I don't know, I'm kind of liking it. So if you want to see what that is, well, let's get right into it and see what is this. The first step for this DIY is to use something and remove this little family sign. Some are stuck on better than others, so you may have to just work it a little bit. You can see it peeled off some of my paper, but don't worry at all about that. That's all going to be covered. The main thing is to try and keep that outer edge paper intact, so don't start trying to peel it off. Then you're going to want to take off this little hook thing here and the label. To take the label off, it's always really nice to have one of these heat tools, and I'll leave a link in the description box below if you don't have one already. And it really helps to get the sticker off instead of having to worry about peeling and scraping and having bits and pieces stay on. So once you've done that to both of your pieces, you're going to take a piece of paper. I already did this ahead. I got to show you guys this because someone had me print it out and I really like it. So a lot of times we see ourselves as imperfect, but we can also see ourselves as I'm perfect. So anyway, take a piece of paper and put it under your project, trace it out with a pencil, and then cut out your circle like I've already done here. And then what I did is I want to divide this into 16 little sections. So I fold it in half again, in half a third time, and in half a fourth time, so that I can see exactly where, when I open this up, I'm going to have my 16 sections here. Next, we're going to take one of our rounds, put your piece, I'm doing this on the back side because it's easier to be able to see, and I'm going to put my round piece of paper on here, and then at every line, actually make sure that your line lines up with your little hole. It just will make it better. So then go through and mark each spot where you have your little crease mark, because then you know that you'll have 16 places marked evenly. And this is going to be really important later. Don't try and eyeball this because it will mess you up later on. So you can see there's the little line marks all the way around. So now that we have all of our spots marked, I'm going to take a scrap piece of wood and put it underneath here, because we're going to be drilling holes in this at every one of those points that we did. So we're going to do 16 holes all the way around this board. I'm putting a piece of board under here so that I can drill right into it and through this entire piece. And for reference, this is a 3/8 inch bit. Now at each point where I've made my line, I'm going to come in a little bit and I'm going to drill a hole. Does make a bit of a mess, so have a garbage can nearby or a little vacuum or something. Do that to both of your pieces so that you'll have 16 holes on each one. Now we're going to be taking our 4-yard balloon sticks, which there's actually 8 sticks in here, and we're going to cut each of the sticks in half. Now it's really important that these are all the same length, so you do want to line them all up at the one end to make sure that they're all even. And then you're also going to cut off, you can see that the other ends here are, some of them are angled because those are the ones that actually go into the ground. So we do need to cut, well, we're not putting them in the ground, but that's what they're made for. So you do need to cut off all of these so that they're all even on this end, the same way they are on this end. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on this across so that it will probably hold a little better. I don't know, that's my thought process. Not sure if it's going to help or not, but we want to try and keep those as even as possible. Then I'm just going to mark these so that I can cut them off at whatever the lowest point is of one of those, because you want to keep as much length as we can on these. Then I'm just going to mark them and cut them. Okay, then once you have both ends that have flat ends to them, we're going to measure halfway point and cut these exactly in half. Mine are measuring out to be about 17 inches long, so we are going to then want to cut these in half, which is going to be 8.5 inches. So I'm finding my 8.5 inch mark and I am marking it, and then I'll be cutting across right there. And I am taking into account the thickness of the Sharpie and where that's marking as well. So now we have our 16 pieces, and I bet you can guess what we're going to be doing with these. You got it. Back to our little circle here, and we're going to be putting one in each of these holes and gluing it into place. I'm putting a little silicone mat. You can use parchment paper, anything you want underneath there, just so that the glue doesn't get all over your work surface. And I'm going to put glue around the base of my little, they look like straws, so I'm going to call them straws. And we're going to go around and glue one into each hole. I'm kind of twisting it a little bit and jiggling it because I do want that glue to not only be at the top there, but I also want it to get down into the hole. So, okay, this is what it should look like when you're all done and you have all 16 of them in place. Now we're going to be doing the same and gluing this in the same way, flipping this upside down and putting these in here, which I'm going to show you in a second. But before we do that, because once we glue that on, we're not going to be able to access whatever we want to put inside. So 2 of these we're going to need to cut down to about whatever height that you want to be able to still reach in. These are about 8 inches long right now as to what is sticking up out of our wood. And we're going to cut 2 of them down. It doesn't matter to what length you cut them. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to take mine just about to the 4-inch mark and cut them down to that height, but only 2 of them. And it'll be definitely easier if you mark them because they move around and you want to make sure that you have both of them the same. Here's what it's going to look like. And then I'm going to be taking and gluing these, flipping this upside down and gluing these into the holes that we made down on the other one. This is going to be a little trickier to do, so we're going to be just doing that from putting them all in place first and then gluing it from the underside. So make sure you get all of these into their little holes because otherwise you won't be able to push them down. And then here's what it's going to look like. And now we're going to go through on the underside and add some hot glue there to keep those in place as best as we can. And it's good if a little bit of the glue also goes down inside of the straw. It's not going to show either, but at least it will help to keep it attached to the part that's stuck onto the outside here. Now we're going to be taking our bowls here. They come in a 2-pack, which is perfect because that's what we need. And we're going to be turning them upside down and gluing them right centered on the top of our, whatever you want to call this so far. Now, because we're going to have to work quickly putting the glue around this rim here, it's going to be important to know exactly where it's going to get placed once we have the glue on it, so not trying to move it around later. So get it centered and create some markings so that you know exactly where to place this down once your glue is on. And then I'm just going to quickly go around this edge here so it doesn't cool off too fast. Don't worry if it drips towards the inside, because it's not going to be showing where this is all going to get painted afterwards. So just go around as quickly as you can and put your hot glue all the way around that perimeter and get it right in place where your marks were. And now we have this. So we're going to do the same thing on this other side, so we have this shape. Our next step is going to be to take these Mardi Gras beads, and we're going to be putting those around this edge here, and we're going to work on covering up some of these holes that we have and kind of give a little more finished and refined look by the time it gets all painted. So I'm just putting my glue around this edge, and then I'm going to start gluing my Mardi Gras beads around there. We're going to do that all the way around the top, and we can do it around a second time too, so that it will completely cover those holes. Okay, now I have the 2 rows done on both sides, and something I really didn't think about when I did this ahead of time. Now we have these 2 holes here, so when you're making this, one of your rounds here, do not drill 16 holes, just drill 14. So I'm going to have to fill these in. I'm probably going to just use a little bit of my hot glue, but you can use spackle, you can use whatever, but hopefully you won't need to use anything because you didn't drill the extra holes. So I'm going to do that. Then the next step after that, we're going to be taking our little mini round bowls here. They come in a pack of 6, and we're going to be gluing those onto our ends here. So again, working quickly, we're just going to put that hot glue, and this does have a little closer fit to the size exactly around. So place it properly the first time, hopefully, and it'll look just like that. Now that the one bowl is glued on the bottom, make sure you don't yet glue the top one, because for the top one, we're going to be adding this binder ring in here, or book ring, whatever you call them, and we're going to be using that as a hook. So you can use a glue gun for this, but I find it much easier to use one of these soldering irons to poke a hole. And you're going to start by poking your hole towards the side, just outside the circle of your little bowl here. And you want to make a pretty decent size hole. Then you're going to take your book ring, open it up, and put it through the hole, and see where it would be coming out on the other side, so that you know where you're going to make your other hole. So you can see that mine, depending, I'm trying to center it using this little dot here, but mine is going to be coming right out just on the other side here again of the little circle of the bowl that's already the base of the bowl. So I'm making another hole, and then I'm going to pass the book ring right through there. Now you might need to make some adjustments, but you should be able to get it to come through enough that you can hook it closed. If you can't hook it closed, keep working on the hole until you can get the whole thing in there, and it's really not that hard. Of course, the one that I did as a test run to see if it would work well worked right away, and then the one that I'm showing you guys, that's the one that gives me grief. Anyway, but that's good, because maybe you might have the same problems. All right, there you see it's hooked and it's nice and sturdy, and then now we're going to go ahead and get this glued on to the end here like we did with the other side. You can see it's starting to really take shape here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go outside and spray paint this, and I'm going to be spray painting mine, I think silver, possibly gold, but we'll see. And I usually use Rust-Oleum paints, the Rust-Oleum spray paints. One quick tip before spray painting your piece here. I'm going to be using these knobs. I got them for $10, $9.99 if you want to be precise, at I believe it was Home Goods. And because they are metal, I'm going to be using E6000 to glue them on. Now you can see the bottom of this, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of times hot glue and other adhesives don't stick very well to the painted surface. I'm going to see how much space this is actually going to take on the bottom of this plastic here, and I'm going to just put a little maybe piece of tape, or if you have a little round sticker of some sort that you can put there so that that exact spot where you're going to glue this does not get paint. You'll have a much better chance at this adhering properly. I'm just going to take a piece of painter's tape, stick it on the bottom here, and then cut it out so I know the diameter of the bottom of this knob. Now I have my little round dot that I can stick to the bottom of this so that it is protected from the spray paint. Hey, thanks for watching this far. If you are liking what you're seeing, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and join our Glue Dot family by hitting that subscribe button down below. If you'd like to follow me, the Midnight Crafter, on social media, I have an Instagram and a Pinterest. Both are EP Midnight Crafter, or you can join our Facebook group, Midnight Crafter Glue Dots. We'd love to have you there too and show off what you're working on. Got this all painted and it's looking pretty good, I gotta say, pretty good. Anyway, I'm gonna take off that little tape that I put underneath there. And that way I have my nice clean spot to glue my knob onto. And then I'm gonna also, before I glue the knob on, just because that's gonna need some time to dry, I'm gonna use some of these different rhinestone stickers that I found and do some finishing touches, like go around this seam, possibly around this part, and do some things like that. I also would like, because these are just the cut off ends of the straws, I'm going to use these little gemstones here to cap these ends. Because I know the adhesive probably is not going to stick the best on this, I am going to use a little bit of hot glue as well on them. So a lot of these little things are finishing touches that are just going to really just give it a little more polished look, a little less DIY and a little more polished. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and get the knob glued on, and then you'll get to see it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up.